tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey, welcome Sox fans to another edition of Red Sox Wrap 360. I know you probably missed this last week, but it was a Labor Day weekend, a weekend to do no labor, and it was nice and chill and a good time to get out of LA. And I went back to the homeland, and I saw 0 games at Fenway. I was going to go one day, but my stomach wasn't cooperating, so I had to punt.
That's the level of fan you are?
That is, I guess.
Wow.
It must be. But, I mean, it was kind of like a situation where I needed to be near some facilities.
Did it have anything to do with your T-shirt?
Yes. Yeah, a little bit of that, and a little bit, I think it was kind of like half hangover, probably 30% hangover, 70% ate something bad.
Was this...
It was just tearing me up.
So scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all like, 10 being identical to, was this 1 to 10 a Pablo Sandoval kind of situation? Could you see him dealing with something like this?
Well, you know, I could drink Pablo under the table. He could probably eat me under the table. But, you know, the funny thing was I was watching a game the past few weeks, and you know how they have those Sox things like profiles of the Sox players?
Yeah.
And his favorite app was Instagram. Wouldn't you think after all the flack he took for that, he might switch that up a little bit?
Or he's trolling everybody. You know? Maybe this next week when they're out of it, but when they're officially out of it, he'll like 2 pictures on Instagram. Yeah. Next week. I'm just saying. Hey, and just for the record.
Yeah.
So last week, Labor Day, we take the weekend off. You go home. Sox are at home. You don't see any games. Yeah. I went to Sacramento.
Yeah.
In Sacramento, because I am the only true baseball fan on this panel,
AAA?
I saw 3 AAA games.
Nice.
Because that is how the hell I roll.
And there's no major league team in Sacramento.
That's true, but AAA, PCL, good baseball. See a lot of former major leaguers, a lot of guys rehabbing. Not bad.
A lot of offense.
I saw Joe Panik and Corey Dickerson rehabbing for the Giants and Rockies. So those are 2 good major leaguers.
Absolutely.
Not a bad day.
Absolutely, not bad at all.
There you
And
go.
oddly enough, we're kicking it off in the NL West, Shaka. But we're going to get right to it. If you didn't see the Sox today, they won 2-0 in 13. Unbelievable.
Is the game over?
It just ended.
I was prepping stuff today this morning, and I usually do the Dodgers first and then the Red Sox. And I should do it the other way because the Red Sox show comes first.
Right.
But I was doing the Red Sox, and I'm sitting there at I don't know.
Red Sox show comes first. You heard it.
I was sitting there at 12:45 Pacific and looking, and I'm like, okay, they're going to the 10th. It's scoreless. That's cool. Come back at about 1:15. I've got the game on, doing other stuff, and I'm like in and out, and I'm like, well, somebody probably needs to score here. About 1:45, I was like, I got to go to the studio pretty soon. Are they going to finish this, or are we just going to watch it?
It was crazy.
How do you this game today, the Rays got 3 hits in 13 innings?
Yeah, and
miserable.
I guess we'll just get into today's right away here, guys. But Rich Hill, Milton, Mass's own Rich Hill, spun in he left after 7, allowing 1 hit, and that 1 hit was it could have been an error.
Mm-hmm.
It was that grounder in the hole to Bogarts that he didn't get, and that was a catcher that hit that. So he could have thrown him out if he fielded that cleanly. That could have been an error. You know, Rich Hill was thinking that in the 7th when he was like, well, leave me in.
What is 10 strikeouts, 1 walk?
Sick. And I was
That's a hell of a game.
Are we really giving this reclamation project another chance? But the first Massachusetts-born player to stop for the Red Sox this year. And,
is that true?
That's true.
Wow.
That's true. And I thought that back in June that it might be me. You know, I thought I might be able to get limber and.
What do you think you can hit on the gun legitimately? 62?
Whew. I think if I got loose, if I got really loose, I might be able to hit 67.
Yeah, I feel like everybody who hasn't played could probably like guys who haven't played, who've kind of been around a while. I think you could probably touch 70. Now the next day you'd be feeling like hell, even if you threw 15 pitches.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you hit 70.
Oh, I couldn't throw 15 at that speed. But let's backtrack for a little bit. We'll come back and talk about this game in a little more in depth. But I just wanted to go back over 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And, it's been a good 2 weeks for the Sox. 4 series. They won 3 of those series. The Yanks series, though, we started out on such a good note. Good pitching performance from Erod, and they won 4-3. And even Gene Machie got a save in that one. That's how good it went for the Sox. But, that kicks off the series, and I'm thinking, all right, maybe we could take 2 out of 3 from the Bombers here. Maybe, who knows? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Could be a sweep because, the ship has sailed on our club this year, and I'm just like, hey, let's stick it to the Yanks, But unfortunately, it didn't happen because in that next game, they lost 3-1. And that was a heartbreaker of a game because I don't know if you remember that game. In the 5th, Travis Shaw let this bouncer go by him, like glazed off his glove and up the first base line in the 5th and extended the inning. The Yanks went on to score a couple in that inning, and we lost 3-1. And that was the game that just kind of got away, And then they kind of blew us out in the 3rd game of the series, 13-8. But I did take some solace out of that 3rd game in the fact that they jumped out to a big lead, 11-1. And this team of youngsters, they keep playing baseball, which I love. If this was a team of crusty veterans, they'd just be packing in and say, when's my first tee time? But these guys battled, and they cut 11-1, and they lost 13-8, So I was impressed by that.
Here's my question about that, though, because you saw the Yankees Saturday afternoon like I did in the national game against the Blue Jays when Tulo got injured. Mm-hmm. In that game with the Blue Jays, the Yankees bullpen collapsed at the end of the game. Couldn't throw a strike, gave up, 3-4 runs in the 10th or whatever, 11th inning. Could not figure it out. Was that a case, the Red Sox comeback? Is it the Red Sox don't give up, it's young guys, it's guys eager to prove themselves, or is the Yankees bullpen really suspect? Closer aside.
I think that it's a situation where those guys are getting kind of worn down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because in that 13-8 game, Betances actually had to come in that game.
Yeah.
And that was a game where they thought, hey, we'll just rest our guys and all this stuff. Not so fast, Joe Torre, get in your guys. And, I think the Yanks, at the deadline, I'm surprised they didn't bring in a starter. I thought they might have went after a Shields or somebody of that ilk. But, they were so quick to not, part with Severino, which was the right call.
Yeah.
But deep down, I think they thought that we're going to bring up Severino and he's going to be that extra starter for us, which is a lot to put on a young rookie kid. I mean, that kid's going to be a stud, no question. But to do that, to have that happen in his first, season where he's come up and be our savior, well, not a savior, but be a contributor for us and CeCe getting hurt, he was starting to turn it around before he got hurt, but it's all great.
I don't know, for the Yankees in the AL East, though, it's weird because they didn't make a move. Toronto made every move under the sun. Up until Saturday, that looked great for Toronto. Tulo gets injured. I know he wasn't doing great, but they were winning when he was in the lineup. They had an insane winning percentage with him in the lineup. He gets injured. Maybe the next 2 weeks, Toronto collapses a little bit. Yankees win the division. Who knows? And all of a sudden you say, hey, it was all for nothing. Yankees did the right thing. They didn't part with anybody young that they shouldn't have parted with. Sometimes the best move you make is no move at all.
Yeah.
You don't. I think for the Yankees, and not to get too far off the Red Sox, but I think anybody in that situation, you don't make a move just to make a move because the other team made a move. You don't do what the Padres did.
Right.
You don't make a move just to make a move. You make one that benefits your team. Severino, too much pressure on him this year, for sure. But does he learn really quickly and maybe he's very, very good next year? I think that's what they're hoping for. Yeah. And you've got guys like Eovaldi and stuff. I mean, they have a nice little combination.
Eovaldi is great. And they got him for, I don't remember what they gave up for him, but I don't remember much, Yeah. And he's a guy that was kind of given up on, and I'm like, this guy touches 100. How can you give up on him? He's not even, what's he, 25 now, 26? So it's that was kind of, they were able to fleece them in that deal. But and they actually made a kind of under the waiver depth deal at the deadline, getting Dustin Ackley, who I thought was a kind of a good pickup with them. I think he's banged up for them right now, but not to make fun of somebody who got injured, but when Tulo got injured the other day, the way it happened, it reminded me of that, end zone celebration where the guys do the bowling pins and then they all fall down.
They throw the grenade or something.
Yeah. Because it was such a delayed reaction, But
it's a weird injury though. It's his shoulder blade. It's his scapula. So I don't know what it would feel like. I don't know if he got dizzy once his feet hit the ground, and then he waited like a full second, and the TV angle I think didn't do him justice, because the angle from behind the plate, that angle on the shallow center field, almost seemed like he watches Pilar go down and then was like, I better go down too. It didn't make any sense. It was the weirdest. Crazy. It was bizarre. But did you see his face coming up?
Well,
in the dugout, walking off the field.
He was hurting.
Yeah.
And even like when you watch it in slow-mo, he does take a pretty jarring hit.
Yeah.
You can kind of see it right away in his face that he is
and listen, coming from the Rockies, watching him every day for 8 years in Colorado, he had the nagging injuries and the hip and all this sort of stuff, and you're like, Tulo, every year, what is he going to wear down on? This one is so sad and so frustrating. If it had been a nagging injury, I think Rockies fans would have been like, hey, glad we traded him. This is the risk. But this is such a random, unfair, unlucky injury that could have happened to anybody. It's like, how do you not feel bad for a guy like that? How do you not feel bad for Toronto, who mortgaged a lot for this year? And Tulo will be back next year, but David Price won't. Other guys won't.
Right.
How do you not feel bad for Toronto for something like this?
Well, I mean, you don't cry for them just yet. They're still in the lead in the division, and it's also kind of a case where it was almost like Reyes was addition through subtraction, because he was playing horrible defense. And they were also able to make kind of another under the radar deadline deal and just getting Cliff Pennington. And those depth deals, you don't think anything of them, but then you have a guy that goes down in Tulo. Boom, Pennington come in, play solid D at second. You move Goins over to short, and they're kind of still good to go. I mean, they have enough bats, and as long as it isn't Reyes playing short, they have enough D.
And they did a lot. They got David Price, obviously. They got a reliever from Seattle, who I'm forgetting the name right now. Lowe, thank you, Sean Lowe.
Mock,
today,
I believe. Mock.
They just picked Darwin Barney from the Dodgers today for nothing. And they had to do that, just get another infielder, and he won't do very much for them, if anything at all.
Right.
But it's just depth. So yeah,
it is. Okay, and then so they were only taking 1 out of 3 from the Yanks, which could have been 2 out of 3, but what are you going to do? But they didn't get down on themselves, and the Phils came to town, and they swept them up. Just like they should.
That's impressive, because the Phillies have been playing much better in the second half.
That's no question.
And I know that's a relative much better when you go about 2 for the first half and you win 8 in the second half. That looks wonderful. No, but the Phillies have been playing much better in the second half. I know they slowed down a little bit lately. They were hotter than hell in August.
Yeah.
They slowed down lately, but the Phillies are another team like the Red Sox, probably much worse off than the Red Sox, obviously.
Thank you.
But like the Red Sox, where they have young guys who are this still sound goofy, too dumb to give up.
Yeah.
They're not cynical yet. They're not looking for their tea time yet. They're not looking for the off season to go fishing yet. They like playing baseball.
And they're trying to impress.
Yeah.
They're playing for a spot next year.
This is spring training for them in a way, and it should be.
And they're going to have to impress a new GM, because Amaro got the X, which is a long time coming.
Yeah, probably about 25 years too late.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, no, we can't say that, because the Phillies had a couple really good years, not, 6-7 years ago. But it's been a disaster over there for a couple years.
So in that Phil series, it was nice. The bats were going and stuff, and we got some pitching too. 7-5, 9-2, and 6-2 in those games. It was awesome. Even my boy with the Mo Hullett, Robbie Ross Jr. got his first save of the season, and I'm not sure if that's his first career save, but
picked up his second one today. So
yeah, it was nice.
Good reliever from him. The bats are the story, though. Not just the Phillies, but really this last 7 days. The bats exploded, not just David Ortiz. They've started scoring runs. I see them move up all the team rankings, batting average, slugging, on base, OPS, homers, doubles. They're going up in everything the last couple of weeks by a lot. Not moving up a position, they're moving up a lot.
And this is a team that's going to be moving forward, a doubles team, You look at guys like, sweet Lord, I hope they keep this outfield intact, I mean, Mookie Betts looks like he's going to be a 2020 guy for the next 15 years, and add 50 doubles to that, Jackie Bradley's looks like he's going to be a 2010 guy who's going to have 50 doubles, You know
how I feel about Jackie.
Rusney, yeah. Well,
I do like Rusney, though.
Rusney, this kid, I mean, his only bad time playing baseball was that first, kind of 6 weeks this year before they sent him down. Because he hit when he was up for the cup of coffee last year, and he's been hitting lately, He's like, he's mashing. He's like, hitting over, he's a career 300 hitter, so it's pretty crazy. But
all of a sudden, we don't miss Alejandro De Aza as much as we did like 2 weeks ago, right?
This is true.
Although
But
he would still, I maintain, and I know you agree, would still be a phenomenal fourth outfielder, veteran. He's having a decent year himself until he got shipped out, But hey, there's a lot of those guys
he can
available.
stop for somebody. There's a lot of terrible teams out there. I find it hard to believe that there's 90 outfielders that are better than Alejandro De Aza. But and what's great about the fact that kind of people are hitting now, is everybody is. So, like, when somebody goes down for a few games, like Jackie Bradley, since he had his 4-for-4 game early this week, he's been kind of in a little bit of a funk. But Betts is raking, Bogarts is, Ortiz is ridiculous. And you know what I wish happened is, like, it was going to take those guys some getting used to, and I didn't expect them to hit right off the bat at the beginning of the season. But it would have been nice if Poppy hit at the beginning of the season. If he had his shit 2-month period in August and September while everybody else is hitting, and he was able to buoy the lineup by doing what Poppy does at the beginning part of the season, man, we could have probably won a little bit more of those games.
I think you are missing one piece of the equation that was there at the beginning of the season that isn't now. If Mike Napoli had hit a little bit better,
we just can't have a show without you taking out Mike Napoli at the knees.
Am I wrong though? If he had done a little bit better and he could have buoyed Poppy a little bit, and then Poppy as hot as he is now, and maybe Napoli still would have gone anyways. He didn't have much of a future in Boston unless he was hitting like 330 this year, and he wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
If he had done a little bit better.
Yeah, well,
or maybe you make the move a little bit sooner. We talked about Napoli for a lot of weeks before they made that move.
Yeah, but he was doing so horrible you couldn't get anything for him. So
they still didn't. They didn't get a damn thing for him.
Yeah. But hey, he's going to help Texas win the AL West.
Which is
what are you going to
do? Do you really think they'll win the AL West?
I mean, they're knocking on the door. They're like a couple games back right now, a game and a half.
I like Houston, man. I really like Houston.
Yeah, I kind of did too. I mean, they seem like they had all the firepower. Everybody in their friggin' lineup has like 20 bombs, it seems, and they steal bases and they were getting the pitching, but Texas just keeps hanging around and adding that arm at the deadline. It's a big arm, big stud. But that's for the AL show. but yeah, some encouraging things like runners in scoring position. That Phil series, they were 4 for 11, 6 for 15, and 2 for 4. And I just love hitting with runners because now before it was Bogarts was the only one hitting, and now for the past couple months he's hitting about 230 with runners in scoring position, and like these other guys are just like kind of stepping up and really getting hits, and I'm just psyched. I mean, I've never been so excited to watch a last place team in my life. This team is really going about it the right way, and they just, 2016 can't get here fast enough. I know we talk a lot on this show about shortening the season and all that stuff, but let's just flip the scripts and let's just say we don't shorten it, but we elongate it to 175 games, and we start this season, Red Sox in the playoffs.
The danger there is there's about 10 teams who could say that. The Padres would believe they still have a shot.
The Padres aren't playing Red Sox baseball.
No, they're not. But I'm just saying there's so many teams that are. The Giants, my God, would say, 15 more games. We can overtake the Dodgers again. We'll get hot.
Yeah.
The NL Central, every one of those teams would think they win the division. The Cubs, Pirates, and Cardinals. Everybody could say that when you elongate
I was just saying that in jest. I don't really want to elongate the season. I was just saying that the season's going to run out on the Red Sox about 10 or 15 games too short. And it's unfortunate because if they just started playing good ball about a month earlier, man, they could have really made a run at this.
I will say that they still would never pitch well enough to... If you had this hot streak 3 weeks ago, they still don't pitch well enough to do anything in the playoffs. You're going to have Big Papi and Dustin Pedroia do ridiculous stuff offensively and win a lot of games, 6-5, which in the playoffs is a relatively high score depending on who you're facing. You're going to have to do that a lot, which is not that likely,
Maybe you haven't been seeing what Joe Kelly's been doing lately.
I
mean, hey.
Okay, I'm a little skeptical that Joe Kelly and the new and improved-ish Rick Porcello
right
are playoff caliber this year, and I'm really just floored at your sheer optimism that had we 13 more games, a last place team would be a playoff team. If we had 100 more games, the Rockies might have a shot at this thing.
Yeah, well, I feel like, when talking about hypotheticals, I have the luxury to be optimistic, so it is good.
Mine are pessimistic, but this is a case of what team we primarily cover and our worldview surrounding that. That's why we are the way we are.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So this week was a great week as well. Taking 2 out of 3 from the AL East leading Jays. That was incredible.
That's a playoff series. That to the Red Sox is a playoff series. You're playing spoiler. You should have nothing to play for. You haven't been mathematically eliminated, but you're obviously not. You're not going to make it. You got to go. What would they have to go down the stretch? 18-2 or whatever. They're going to have to do something ridiculous. That for them is a playoff series. In the Jays, if you leave Boston losing 2 out of 3, you got to feel so bad about yourselves. It's not the end of the world. They're still fine, but you cannot lose to. I don't care how good the last place team is. Take care of business. Jays didn't do it. Sox won a best out of 5 playoff series, or best out of 3 playoff series, the way I see it.
Right, and they really had the bats going in that one.
Yeah,
and my boy Ricky Porcello there, putting forth a decent. He actually pitched decent in that Yanks game that I said that we got away from because of that Shaw era, but he went 7 1/3. 3 earned runs. I mean, he not lighting the world on fire, but 4 straight quality starts.
I think against
starts,
that team, against Toronto, that almost is setting the world on fire.
That is true. That's true.
That's a decent start relative to them. And then you got to think about the situation. They were up 11 to, 10-2, 9-2 in the 7th when he gave up or the 8th when he gave the last 2 runs. Right. So you're not throwing with the same intensity as you are in a 2-1 game. But I think that's a real good start against a team that's, one of the better offensive teams in baseball.
Yeah. And the offensive star of that night obviously was the aforementioned Jackie Bradley Jr. 4 for 4 with the home run, 4 RBIs. He was a stud. On August 5th, he was hitting 102.
I believe in August 5, JBJ. Yeah. We talk about this a lot.
You do. But you don't believe in September 13th, JBJ?
Here's my struggle.
He's up to like 290 now.
Here's the thing, because
102 to 290, everybody.
He's 294, getting on
in
base.
Like 6 weeks.
On base clip 375, which is very good. Here's my thing with JBJ. And this is where it gets dangerous because we talk out of both sides of our mouths.
Strikes out too much.
Well, he does do that. Although it's not as bad lately as it had been earlier. But we talk about how the last few weeks, the Toronto series, Red Sox won a playoff series. For them, what was kind of almost won for them because it's a good team, a playoff team. Mm-hmm. But it's September. It's been September for a couple weeks. JBJ's been killing it in September. What do teams do in September?
If you're the Red Sox, they play really good baseball.
Well, no, but yes, they expand rosters, and when you expand rosters, you throw a bunch of pitchers who shouldn't necessarily be here.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing this against starters. I mean, he's starting games going 4 for 4, so you're seeing good starters and rotations. But he's also doing this against relievers who maybe shouldn't be there, against teams like the Red Sox who are playing for nothing. And so I just wonder in September baseball, I like expanding rosters because I like seeing young guys come up, but I'm also always a little skeptical because it's not quite Major League Baseball. Maybe that's ticky-tack. I'm sorry.
It's ticky-tack. Let me quell the wonderment for you. It is not a wonder. This kid is for real. I mean, so there's something to be said with that, but when you look at how night and day it was once he got rid of that toe tap and ended up doing just the step up and step down, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, that's why hitting coaches get paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because they have to look at something. And actually, it wasn't even, it was like Joe Kelly, I believe, that picked that out. Or Rick Porcello.
That's probably
I think it was Rick Porcello that said, hey, you're doing this.
That might be an indictment of the Red Sox season right there.
Oh, boy. But also in that game, Travis Shaw, another bomb. Betts 3 more hits. The kid's a stud. Poppy had 2 more hits in that one. They were 5-14 with runners in scoring position. They lost the middle game of that series 5-1. That's when the bats went silent. Henry Owens was he was kind of trouble with the control. He had 4 walks, 2 hit batsmen, a balk. He went 5 1/3. 3 hits, 1 earned run. So the overall line doesn't look too bad. The big story in that one was number 15 returning to the lineup, Dustin Pedroia. He had a 1-for-4 night with a double. And Shaw again went deep with his 9th home run of the year. I mean, this kid, he's since had his 10th. So that kid has double-figure home runs in limited at bats. What's he got? Maybe 200 bats? I mean, yeah, there you go.
Let's take a look.
Let's take a look.
He has 143 at bats.
Wow.
Slugging .545.
Kid's a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 40 homer pace right there.
Yeah.
You know? So obviously that's not going to continue, but I do like him in the mix next year in some type of platoon or something. I mean, he just has such an easy swing, and his bat stays through the zone for so long. It just seems like, okay, this one's inside, and he just like, oh, I'll just drop the fat part of the bat on. He swings so easy. It's kind of like let the club do the work, something I often hear on the golf course.
Yep.
Let the club do the work, because usually it's me topping it off the tee and not making the women's tees because I'm friggin' swinging for the fences. But, he really does. He lets the bat do the work. He gets the fat part on the ball, and he's impressive. I really like him in the mix next year. I mean, I'm almost like if we have to start the season with Hanley at first, at least we have kind of a backup plan that can come in there just in case.
I keep thinking about kind of the positions that are interchangeable, generally speaking, are first, left, right, and designated hitter. You can take a guy and put him in all 4 in a lot of cases, or you can take a composite of guys and do that. The Red Sox have a composite between Ortiz, who's not going to play in the field much anymore, but Ortiz, who's done it at first, Shaw, who can do a little bit of everything maybe, Hanley, who certainly could. Nobody's saying he's a good left fielder, but if you need to stick him out there occasionally, you can, and you probably won't lose too much sleep. And then maybe corner outfielders like Rusney or something, and then you look to see who can we possibly use as a DH to spell Poppy one day or whatever. And the more you can mix and match those guys so that every day you get Shaw in the lineup, every day you get Ortiz, every day you get Hanley, hey, if you have every bat, this ain't bad. And then if you hide them with a good shortstop defensively, a good center fielder, a good second baseman, all of a sudden, you're it's not a bad situation.
Yeah. Now we're talking. And they ended up putting a hurting on him 10-4 in the last game of that series. Poppy goes deep. Betts goes deep. Kelly wins his 8th consecutive start. 5 2/3, 6 hits, an earned run, 5 Ks, 2 walks. 8th consecutive start. That's the longest run since Pedro won 9 straight.
He's also
99.
touching 100 miles an hour, for God's sakes.
Have you seen the gun hit 100?
On TV, yes.
Okay.
I'm a little skeptical about how true those guns are.
Yeah.
But what's he throwing? 97? Yeah. Come on. Do you expect that out of a guy like that? That's phenomenal.
Yeah, 97 I'll take. I mean, that's a good fastball. So that was a great series, 2 out of 3. And then they put the finishing touches on 2 out of 3 versus the Rays today. So I love the fact that these AL East teams that still they think they have a shot, guess who's going to knock you out? The lowly Bo Sox, baby. Oh, yeah. And I was a little skeptical because, I thought this could go poorly after the 8-4 loss on Friday night, but then they were able to come back and take the next 2. Another Tozawa meltdown in that Friday night game. Yeah. It's unfortunate because he had pitched better now that he was back in his customary role in the 8th, but he just didn't have it that night.
That's almost real. That's worse to see Tozawa do that against the Rays because the next 2 days, in a span of 22 innings, Red Sox give up 10 hits to the Rays, and Tozawa makes them look like the Red Sox of the last 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And everybody's entitled to a few bad outings. Tozawa, God knows how good he's been for a long time. Yeah. But that's a tough one to lose in the way that you lose it and give up, a 5 spot in an inning? Yeah. That ain't good.
Right, let's fast forward past that loss and let's get to the main news of the week.
Yes.
This is what we like to do.
Actually, let's do
75th minute.
Let's do one thing before that because I know where you're going. The Sox are 68 and 74 right now. Still in last place, I believe, but it's very close. 3 for 5 are close. I think their playoff series, their end of year thing, they want to get to 500, right?
Absolutely.
Don't you want to win 81? Probably 82. Your goal is 82. And to do that, they'd have to go then 14 and 6 to end the season. And tough.
If they go 14 and 6, guess who wins our little wager?
Wait a minute. Well, you said 87. I said 76.
Right.
14-6 is exactly. Oh, you're right.
82 would be closer to 87.
I need them to win 81 or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what looked like a foregone conclusion, and you getting fat off of my credit card,
Wait a second.
is no longer the case. This team, has been winning 2 out of every 3. 14-6, somewhat plausible.
Sure.
But
just for the record,
somewhat plausible.
Just for the record,
somewhat plausible.
you said you thought they were going to win 87 games. And this is not in April, folks. This was in the middle of July.
There was 70 games left. I said they were going to go 45-25. A team that was playing like that, clearly that was shaded in optimism. But,
Really?
I just this good baseball I just thought was going to happen, 3 weeks before it actually did. Now can we get to the man of the hour?
Yeah.
Mr. Ortiz, Poppy, 2 bombs, number 499 and number 500 on Saturday night. That 500 was an absolute bomb, no doubter. So 27th player to do so. Unbelievable. He's 3 for 4 in the game, 4 ribbies. Just a stud, just a moon rocket on that. Becomes the only guy other than Albert Pujols to hit 499 and 500 in the same game. He also becomes the 4th player with 500 career homers and at least 3 World Series titles.
And he's the 3rd active 500 homer guy. Who are the other 2? Pujols. Who's the other one?
Pujols and
It's obviously an obvious person, and I'm forgetting it right now.
now we'll come back to it. But the 3 World Series and the 500 home runs: Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Reggie Jackson.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty good company. That is pretty good company. Who's got 500? Oh, A-Rod.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shocker.
And then, am I crazy, or did Pujols, when he hit 499 and 500 in the same game, did he also do it in Tampa Bay? Or am I just crazy about this?
If you can pull that one,
I thought he did.
you know exactly where it's coming out of. But, there you go.
Tampa is the worst place to do it, but it was fun to see the relievers run down from the bullpen, and you have a lot of Boston fans. You got a lot of Northeast fans in Florida anyways, so it's kind of a home game, but man, waited 2 days before. You wish you would have done it at home.
Yeah. That would have been nice, and I'm sure he would have liked that too. But he got a well-deserved day off today, and I thought he wasn't going to get the whole day off as we went a lot of innings needing runs. But Rusney came through in the top of the 13th with a 2-run single after we put some singles together and extending his hitting streak to 18 games. Mookie Betts. He is a stud, and in that hitting streak, he is 30 for 76. What's that, real quick? That's
34-76 is about 500.
30 of 76.
Oh, 30 of 76.
Yeah,
I thought you said 34. Okay.
Yeah, 30 of 76. It's probably about 350, 360, somewhere in there. That's nice.
Pujols did his in Washington. I don't know why I thought he did it in Tampa Bay.
I guess you
Looks like he did it against the Nationals last
you were
year.
thinking expansion teams.
Yeah.
But, so Rich Hill, unbelievable. I mean, could this be, a guy that kind of off the scrap heap? Could he be a serviceable major leaguer going forward? Another lefty? I mean, I don't think so.
Well, here's the thing. Lefties never die. Literally never die. You will have so many chances as a lefty.
Yeah.
Somebody will give him a shot next year if the Red Sox don't, but they probably should.
But, I mean, he became he was a starter, and then they kind of making him kind of a specialist reliever, and he was a sidewinder, and now he's coming more 3/4, I noticed. So maybe that's just the change.
It's also a little bit of unfamiliarity because he's been in the National League so long with Washington and Chicago. Chicago is where he played the vast majority of his career.
Right.
So Tampa Bay's guys aren't going to know. And Tampa Bay's young too. Those guys aren't going to know him as well. Now, unfamiliarity only goes so far. You still got to be decent to good to strike out 10 guys in 7 innings and throw a 1-hitter.
Yeah. I mean, did you think coming into this game it was going to be the duel that it was? Because Smiley, I mean, the Sox K'd 19 times today, still won the game.
So combined, the two teams struck out 33 times? Rays K'd 14 more?
Yep.
33 times in 13 innings.
More than 2
Whatever
innings.
you paid for the tickets, you paid too much. Because it wasn't against, if it were too huge, if it were Price versus Cueto, you'd say, hey, that's money well spent. But it's Rich Hill versus, what's his name, Smiley or whoever. You You probably paid too much for the tickets.
Yep.
But that's the worst kind of getaway day, too. Quick game, 0-0, flying in the ninth, going to get on the plane, 10, 11, 12, 13. The whole bullpen's coming out. You use, 6, 7 relievers. Whew.
And that was great,
Yeah.
because, obviously a band of arsonists that have been getting lambasted on the show on a weekly basis, they come through and they just shut it down. 6 shutout innings. And this is great, with this increased, roster and all this stuff. You get to throw all these arms in there and kind of see who's going to maybe be in the mix for a spot next year in this bullpen, because they really have to revamp the bullpen. Please don't have Craig Breslow in the bullpen again next year.
You think he's run his course?
This is like his third tour of duty with the Sox, and have any of them really been spectacular? I don't know. He just. I'm like the other. I like Ross and I like Lane better than him. So it's like, bring in another lefty. But Heath. Don't call me Alan Hembry. Got the win today, 1-0. But he's been showing signs, as a guy over the past couple weeks. He's had some rough innings too, but he throws the ball okay. And Noe Ramirez, I've been seeing a little bit out of him, so maybe he's a piece.
Gene Machie threw an inning in a third.
Gene Machie
Hasn't been doing so well overall, but that's taking a flyer. That's what you expect.
Exactly. So, and that's basically what we should do next year for this bullpen, is take a bunch of flyers.
Yeah.
And,
so do you think now, I know you're an eternal optimist, but try to be as grounded in reality as possible.
Okay.
With the relative hot streak the Red Sox have had the last 2 weeks, and what you believe will be a 14-6 finish to the season, which is a little insane.
Awesome.
I think they're going to go about, 10-10.
That'd be awesome.
But do you believe that this team is ready to win now in 2016 legitimately? The flukes can happen. You can be the Astros, I guess. But are you ready to win now in 2016, or is it one more season away?
No, I think we're ready to win. And I think that Dombrowski is going to make moves. What I hope he doesn't do is... and I hope he won't, because he's an old guy and he's been around the block a couple times, but a lot of times with this new GM, it's like I got to put my stamp on this team, and then just absolutely jettison all the other guys that the other GM acquired.
Really, because
which would be
wish
horrible.
that the Rockies had that GM you just described.
The jettison?
Yes, because we've never had that. I don't think Dombrowski will do it. What I'm worried Dombrowski
Have the
will
Rockies
do,
ever had the best farm system in baseball?
The Rockies have the third best farm system in baseball right now.
Behind?
Who? The Dodgers?
Red
The
Sox are
Astros?
number one.
In your rankings.
What? Take a
Don't
look.
sleep on the Rocky system. And when they trade everybody this winter, it'll get even better. I forgot where I was going. Oh, Dombrowski. My concern with him, he's been around forever, knows how to win, relationships, can theoretically trade with anybody because he knows what he's doing. I am worried that a guy who's been around this long is too loyal to the guys he brought up. So he brings up Miguel Cabrera with the Marlins way long ago. He brings Miguel Cabrera to Detroit, recently. No brainer, Miguel Cabrera is one of the best hitters of arguably all time relative to the last couple of years. I'm not saying Cabrera is going to come to Boston now. But do you think that Dombrowski is going to go to guys that he brought up in Detroit and maybe Miami, if guys are still playing, who maybe aren't the best, but it's somebody he's familiar with? Because that's a tendency he's shown now.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of something you do when you're in a situation where you don't have pieces, or you're trying to fill one spot and maybe there isn't that much out there, so you bring in a guy you're familiar with that you think may be a good clubhouse guy, or will be a good clubhouse guy at the very least.
Yeah.
And then maybe if he's in the right situation, he can give you upside on the field. But, I don't think he's going to be in a hurry to bring in his, old farts just because he's, he feels obligated to do so because he brought him up. But unless David Price is one of his guys.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you, because David Price was, not a guy that he developed, but one of his guys in Detroit that he signed there. Do you think David Price gives him not necessarily a hometown discount, but maybe a quote-unquote hometown, I'll listen a little bit longer to you?
I think he's at an age where he's got one more big contract left in him, and he's going to take the money. And I think the Cubs will give it to him. He'll go back with his old manager, and
You don't think the Dodgers will make a run, or the Giants?
Well, I mean, the Dodgers are going to have to play a pretty hefty bounty to retain Greinke because we all assume he's going to opt out.
I just think they don't worry about money.
Yeah, that's true.
But neither do a lot of
Magic
teams.
prints it.
The Cubs don't necessarily need to worry about money that much. I mean, they haven't proved it to the Dodgers level. The Red Sox are not exactly, lacking cash to swim in. Mm-hmm. Whether they use it is another story.
Yeah, and I mean, I just don't want to be one of those fans that's like, hey, it's not my money. And you have to kind of think in terms of economics as well. That's why it's like I don't really just want to eat Hanley's entire contract just to get rid of him. I really don't want to do that. Peter Abraham actually brought up something when I was listening to him a couple weeks ago, and he was saying, what if we were able to kind of lose him in a deal for Shields, who seems unwanted over there and is around that price tag, about $20 million a year, And it's like, if we could do that and match up some prospects to make it work, we'd probably have to give a little bit higher prospects than they're giving back in order to make that happen and maybe eat 20-25% of Hanley's deal. That'd be something I could be interested in.
Preller decimated the Padres system, so he's going to want prospects back. Padres also need bats because they always do, because they play in that cavern that is Petco Park.
And they can hit.
And they need a shortstop. Not sure Hanley ever goes back, but they need a shortstop.
Wow.
And they're not. They couldn't. They would not mind an outfielder because they've moved Will Myers to first base a lot now because of injuries. I'm sure they wouldn't mind an outfielder. They got the Upton brothers playing left field. Yeah. So maybe there is a fit somewhere like that.
Yeah, I mean, we can we can have Devin Marrero come in the deal as well, who's kind of all glove, no bat shortstop. Who was very slick today on a bunt by Asdrubal Cabrera. They were doing the shift where they leapfrog Pablo, and Pablo's on the other side, and then Marrero, the shortstop, stays in his customary position. Did you see that play? It was like a decent bunt up third base. He friggin' hustled in, surrounded the ball, and then was able to get him at first. It was sick. And I mean, it's not Asdrubal Cabrera's fast days are behind him, but he's not dragging an anvil,
I'm just glad that people are starting to bunt into the shift. You don't like shifts. You don't like the sabermetric aspect of the game where you analyze where every ball is hit. The one way to get rid of shifts is bunt. Bunt off shifts.
Yeah, no, I love seeing that. I'd like to see that happen more often. Even in Poppy lay down one where we need a base runner. You know, if they're shifting against him in the ninth and we're down 2 and he's leading off.
It doesn't have to be perfect. When you're shifting, that's the thing. Anybody can do it. Pablo Sandoval could have done it if he gets up and we're hitting left-handed. Anybody could do it at that point.
Oh, boy. Yes, they do. So, Sox continue on their road trip. They got 3 at Baltimore. They're in the sky right now, heading up there. And then they have 3
in Toronto,
which is big. So, I mean, we got 14-6 to bring home. So, we need a 4-2 week, at least out of that. Maybe a 5-1 week,
A 5-1 week, you're a last place AL East team. Forget the record. You're a last place team going on the road. One of the teams you're playing is the first place team, one of the better, hotter teams in baseball. And you want a 5-1 week.
Well, Baltimore is just plummeting.
For sure.
They're playing one of the worst teams. So, it'd be nice to get a sweep there. And that'll bring us out of the cellar. And then we'll be in 4th place.
Woo! I'm always skeptical on the road. Baltimore's plummeting. They're still 11 games over 500 at home. The Sox are 11 games under 500 on the road.
Yeah.
Excuse me, now 10 with the win today. 10 games under 500 on the road.
Thank you.
Hey, really quick last thing. Please, Josh Rutledge hitting the ball. Do you like him next year?
Hey. They're trying. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose Brock Holt in some sort of move.
Yeah.
To make things going. Kind of a sell high type scenario.
Young, cheap, controllable guys want guys like that.
So, that being said, I think they're looking at Rutledge as perhaps that kind of utility guy. It's just in utility guys, I want glove first, bat second, and he's the exact opposite.
Especially in the AL. Utility guy in the AL is totally different than National League. You need a glove first guy, a guy who can spell short, second, and third, which Rutledge can do, but he's not a great defender.
No. But why wouldn't you need that in the National League? That seems like you would need glove first over there as well.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But National League, you have so many pinch hitting opportunities. If you get a bat first utility guy or somebody who can handle the bat better, like a Rutledge, you can use him as National League pinch hitter every night if you need to.
Right.
The problem is his glove gets him found out real quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this team's playing its spirited ball. If you happen to tune into this show but don't watch the games, I mean, that's what we're here for. We watch the games so you don't have to. But also, watch this Red Sox team. They are a joy to watch. And for those of you that are just watching for Poppy to see if he got his 500 and have seen this young studs coming up, 2016 can't get here fast enough.
I'm most excited about Rusney. I can't put my finger on why. He just seems, and this is a terrible comparison, and he's nowhere close, but it's that same comparison. He seems like Marte in Pittsburgh in that Roberto Clemente, mold.
Yeah.
Nowhere close.
Right.
But really big arm, big bat. You see him and you're like, great athlete. If everything goes right, this guy could be a stud.
Yeah.
He's
got to learn a little bit better on base running. He can't pick guys. He got picked off today.
Yeah.
He can't really read guys.
He's got a million miles to go to even get there. But it's just that athleticism and that body type. And I look at him and I'm like, you never know.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Bobby, tell the folks where they can reach you on Twitter.
Twitter at Bobby DeMuro. We are also going to be back in an hour at 6 p.m. Pacific for Dodgers Wrap 360. And I will leave you with a question. David Ortiz, 500 home runs. Does that make him an automatic Hall of Famer?
Automatic. And I told you that foursome he's in. I mean, he's automatic. He's in. First DH in. That'll open the floodgates for guys like Edgar Martinez. So, guys, tune in with them. I'm still not on social media, but comment on the YouTube page, and we'll get to your questions that way. And until then, go Sox. Thanks for freeing Tom Brady.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.